Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Let's do the local sports roundup brought to you by Amundsen's Appliance Center. Let's start with hockey, Brandon, because that's why you are here on this Thursday morning, because you will be covering state hockey tomorrow. Chi-Hi, the 1 seed, taking down Spash. Boy, did they look good taking down Spash. Spash was the last team to beat Chi-Hi, was that?
Correct.
And so rematch. Boy, Chi-Hi looked good in that game.
Yes, they did. Won that game 4-0 on Saturday in Hudson, and obviously there's a bunch of different things with Chi-Hi that's working. That's what happens when you get to state. But defensively, they've gone 3 games in the playoffs without allowing a goal. I mean, it's been a true team effort there. You've got your forwards playing strong in defense, your defense playing strong in defense, and your goaltender McMarlowe playing strong in defense. So I mean that's. I think coaches are always going to want to see that, especially Coach Scott Parker, who's an old blue gold defenseman. So he's going to appreciate defense more than most, and it's kind of obvious, but you keep the other team out of your net, and you're usually going to be in pretty good shape. So, But they've also got an explosive offense. Their top line of Mason Johnson, Drew Bovey, and Jackson Hoyme has about 100. I think it's like 154, 157 points, which is a lot for a top line. I mean, that's a group that's been playing together for a long time. A couple seniors and a junior in there, and they're finding ways to make it work. But they've gotten contributions up and down that lineup. Sophomore Evan Foyles had the first goal in that sectional championship win. So, they're firing on all cylinders right now, and that's what it takes. And they're the top seed. They'll play tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. against Brookfield. Mm-hmm. And the winner of that game faces either Green Bay Notre Dame or Madison Edgewood in the other semi on Saturday night for the title.
All right, so first game tomorrow, 10 a.m., puck drops. They're the 1 seed. I mean,
they're the 1 seed? It's sold out.
I think Mike Thompson tweeted that.
The AD for Chi said that game sold out, and I believe the Capital Ice Arena holds around like 2,500.
Okay.
So this will be the third game in a row. I mean, we talked about last week how packed it was for Chippewa Ice Arena for the sectional semi against Memorial.
Was it packed for
Hudson was. I mean, I believe I was told that each team sold their 500 ticket allotment. There were 250 more that went out that were sold. So, I mean, that's at least 1,250 there. So, I mean, that's, it's going to be rocking there tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So we got individual wrestling was also last weekend.
Correct.
States this weekend.
Team state, Menominee in Division 1, they're wrestling tomorrow evening. I believe the D1 quarters and semis are.
Is that when they do because you've been out like where they shut the lights off and they got the spotlight on?
Usually that's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was watching a little bit on the TV, but they had like 4 championship matches going on.
They don't have that for like the individual, but for team state, obviously it can be a little bit more,
Right. Focused, hyper focused.
Right. And that's at the field house instead of the Kohl Center. So.
Okay. So we had a lot of local wrestlers again.
We did.
With championships. I just blanked on the kid's name was it Cumberland? 4 championships in a row now for him. Was it Dustin Johnson? What was his name?
I would have to.
I'll double check it here.
Go down. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, a lot of local ones. Any of them that you in your wheel coverage area or?
There were some, but no champions. But just there was a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the thing with something like this. It's like what we have in the spring with track, where there's just so many that sometimes the last few
Dawson
years.
Johnson.
There we go.
Yep.
But the last few years, we had someone like a Brooklyn Sandvig that we were able to talk about, but there was just so many that for track that were going down there and coming away with big time efforts.
It was cool. It was Saturday nights because we had it on we were flipping through a little bit from the TV and they had the 4 going on, but it was really cool because I was watching, and I know it's not in our area, but Milton's Tyson Peach and Maddie Peach, brother sister, wrestling at the same time for a championship, and they both won. I thought that was really cool.
Very cool,
to see that happen. So, Team States going on this weekend here. So, again, congrats to all the local wrestlers who did come away with some hardware, competed at state championship. Best of luck to the team ones that'll be going down starting tomorrow, you said? For like Menominee?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, got that. Girls hoops now. Where do you want to lead off with this one? Because we had some Cinderellas. We had some upsets going on here, too, and a lot of travels. over there. So
yeah, for girls, I mean, we can just kind of go down the line. I mean, Division I tonight at North, you got Eau Claire Memorial taking on Hortonville, the top seed. The Polar Bears are very, very good. I mean,
you talked about Hortonville last week.
Yeah, they're the top seed. They're just the last few years they've really been kind of one of the the top level teams. But Eau Claire Memorial picked up that big win in the regional finals over Spash. So they're getting the rematch. They're getting the rematch close to home. I'm sure the Old Abe fans will be there in great numbers. I mean, it's right in their backyard.
Right, exactly.
So that should be an interesting one. And also, I mean, you got two Big Rivers teams left. You got Hudson in D2, or sorry, in D1, but they're the 2 seed in that section. They're playing Neenah. That game's at DC Everest. So, Hudson's a team that it seemed like a couple of these different Big Rivers teams, because there's still 3 Big Rivers teams when you factor in Menominee in D2 as well. But it was a good year for the conference. But Menominee won that conference, but all these teams were strong. And,
right.
I mean, that shows when you make it out of that first week, you're still in good shape. But as mentioned, Menominee, they're playing Lakeland in Marshfield. Lakeland Edge.
Good old lumberjack rival.
There you go. Yeah, but yeah, they're playing over in Marshfield after Lakeland edged Rice Lake by 1. Another Big River team I mentioned, but Menominee. It's been a nice kind of I don't say bounce back year, but like a return to form year. That's a team that was at state a couple years ago. And, they were, at this point in that program, Coach Storm Harmon and his coaching staff have done a really good job of that, establishing that program as just a consistent, good team. And they've got some good younger players on that team, too. So this isn't this is the last year thing for them. I mean, this is a program that's here, and I think they're going to be here to stay. So,
right.
And then, the winner of that game between Menominee and Lakeland will play either Green Bay Notre Dame or Green Bay Southwest, who's a 6th seed that made the sectional semis. That game will be on Saturday, and right now it's scheduled to be at Wausau East.
Okay.
Division III, Elk Mound, unbeaten. They're the 1 seed in their half of that section. They're going to place Lacrosse Aquinas, who was the Division IV runner-up a year ago. Of interest for some people, that team is led by Sammy Davis, the sister of Jordan and Johnny Davis. So that game is going to be tonight in Arcadia. They'll face the winner of either Baldwin Woodville or Somerset, the top 2 teams on the top half of that. They're playing tonight in Barron. So Division IV, a couple.
And we got Baldwin Woodville as a 1 seed too.
Yeah, Baldwin Woodville's the 1, Somerset's 2. But in Division IV, a couple games of note here in the sectionals. Fall Creek and Regis, rematch from a couple Western Clover Belt games during the regular season. Fall Creek won both of those, but they were good competitive games. So a Western Clover Belt v. Western Clover Belt matchup. You've got that game in Osseo, and the winner of that will be facing the game I'm going to be at tonight, which is McDonald and Phillips, which game I'm really looking forward to. That game's in Ladysmith. McDonald, dominant in their 2 regional wins. Phillips picking up an overtime win over a really good Cameron team. So these are 2 teams that have got some really good shooters on them. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's defended, because they're the type of shooters that you have to defend beyond the 3-point line, because if you're 4 or 5 feet beyond, they'll still take those shots, they'll still make those shots. So
yeah,
I'm really curious to see how that matchup goes. Those 2 matchup winners will meet Saturday at North. So North's getting a couple of sectional games in here this week, and then Division V, you mentioned Cinderellas. I mean, Gilman.
Yeah.
As the 9 seed, Gilman still they went on the road after They've been on the road the entire playoffs so far. They opened up, they beat Lake Holcomb in the regional quarters. Then they went on the road, made the trip up north to South Shore. And
talk about a lot of traveling.
Beat South Shore. And then what was their reward after they won? Well, then they turned around and went back north again to Hurley. Picked up a big win over Hurley. So tonight they take on Owen Withee in an Eastern Clover Belt v. Eastern Clover Belt matchup against the Blackhawks. And that game's at Stanley Boyd.
All right.
So the winner there will face either Clear Lake or Turtle Lake, the other one that's in Spring Valley. And that game is scheduled for Hudson Saturday night.
Okay. So lots going on right now with the girls' side there.
Yep.
So games are tonight, and then Saturday night we'll know winners who's going to state over there.
Yep. We're 2 games from knowing the state field. So
gotcha. Boys started a little bit earlier this week for boys basketball. Let's start off with Chi-High with that epic comeback that they had against Wisconsin
the boys basketball
Rapids.
team down 24 in the second half to Marshfield. They come back the Wisconsin Rapids. They come back and beat Wisconsin Rapids, and now they play Marshfield in tomorrow, the top seed tomorrow in the regional semifinals. So, but yeah, there were some good games around the area. I was at one where we had McDonald winning over Boyceville the last second, 68-65, and the last second 3 from Kel Holm. So they advanced to play Spring Valley, a strong team that actually beat McDonald by a couple points at the start of the year. So There's some, that's a good matchup there. I mentioned, obviously D1 before Chippewa, but elsewise you've got Memorial as the 4 seed. They're going to be hosting Appleton East. With a win, they could see likely Kaukauna Saturday night in the regional finals. Eau Claire North as the 11th seed. They're going to hit the road to go face Neenah.
Mm-hmm.
A 7-10 matchup with Hudson against DC Everest. They're elsewhere in D1. Menominee, also another Big Rivers team, picking up a win on Tuesday. They get a rematch with River Falls, and they beat River Falls, who was the 2 seed in Division 2. They actually beat River Falls, I believe, earlier this year, so that's a tough one. New Richmond, another Big Rivers team. They're going to be facing that.
Medford.
I would say, the look on your face when I mentioned that, you knew where I was going, but Medford after Medford beat Anago. So that's coming up there. D3.
And Rice Lake takes on Rhinelander.
Yeah, Rice Lake takes on Rhinelander. So in D3, you've got Bloomer as a 2 seed. They're going to be hosting Baldwin Woodville. Prescott's the 1 in that. Bottom half of that bracket, though, you got Elk Mound taking on Altoona. So that'll be, I'm sure, one of interest for many people around here. So Division 4, obviously I mentioned McDonald going to play Spring Valley, but otherwise you've got Cameron, who is a 2 seed in that. They'll be facing Shell Lake. Bottom half of that bracket, you got a Western Cloverbelt rematch with Osseo Fairchild going to play Fall Creek. I think that's going to be a really good game. Osceo's played them well, even when Fall Creek got back to full strength. But Regis going to La Crosse to take on Aquinas. Durand, Arkansas is taking on Whitehall. Whitehall made the state last year in Division 4. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on.
Neilsville's on the road against
Neilsville's on the road. Chautauqua is going to be playing at Ladysmith in the Heart of North rematch after Chautauqua pulled off the 12-5 upset over Webster. And then Division 5, you've got some teams around here getting a home game. Eau Claire Manual will be taking on Clayton. You've got New Auburn, who earned a second home game after they beat South Shore, and then the 4 seed Turtle Lake got upset by Luck.
Yeah.
That's
Luck got some luck.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a Luck team that also did beat New Auburn earlier in the year, so that's a team that's as a lower seed is, I think, a little bit dangerous.
Don't overlook them, right?
At this point, I don't think you're going to get that, but they're just I think they're maybe a little better than their record says. The 1 seed on that half of that bracket is Solon Springs, who was a game from state last year. They play Bruce.
Okay.
Bottom half, you got Thorpe making the trip to Rib Lake to take on the Redmen. That's a 1-8 matchup. Owen Withy is the 4 taking on Flambeau after Flambeau beat Lake Holcomb. And otherwise, I mean, you've got Drummond and Athens, and you've got Winter and Hurley. So obviously a couple matchups up north. But yeah, those are. You're getting down to it. I mean, by the time we're talking next week, obviously we're going to be in the same spot we are with girls, and would not surprise me to see a few kind of lower seeded teams still alive.
Mm-hmm. So we got that going on. Is it state for gymnastics?
State gymnastics. This week you've got Chippewa Falls, McDonald. They won the sectional title.
Okay.
So they'll be competing. And the way it works is Friday. You have 2 days of state gymnastics in Rapids. You have Friday, which is like the team competition, which Chippewa Falls, McDonald will be competing in. And then Saturday you have the individual competition, which 4 of the 5 well, I can't say. I mean, there's more than 5, but like the 4 that do all 4 events for Chippewa Falls McDonald are also qualified all around. They actually swept the top 4 spots.
Okay.
So they're going to be competing in everything on Saturday too. Bloomer Colfax will have a couple gymnasts in action with Olivia Price and Selena Hess. They're back. I mean, that's the second year for that program, and it's a program that's made really good strides. So you've got some gymnasts from Eau Claire going as well. It's going to be a good contingent, I think, of area gymnasts going down there to try to to end their year on a high note.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Swimming.
That was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So swimming. Yep. Swimming has wrapped up their season. Otherwise looking locally, I mean, it's not high school, but the Chippewa Steel back home now. They were up in Alaska. A tough couple weeks for them up in Alaska, but still within striking distance of a playoff spot. They host Janesville tomorrow night.
Okay.
So that Friday night game will be at home before they head down to Janesville for a Saturday game there.
Okay. I know, was it we mentioned them a little bit last week, but the esports team Chi-Hi got a state championship too?
Yes, they did.
So
bringing that home as well. I know you talked a little bit about the Blue Golds, but the UW Stout women's basketball team winning the WIAC tourney. So they're
bid.
So they got the auto bid into the NCAA, so they'll be coming up in action here this week too.
Yeah, they're playing in Waukesha. But it's Washington University in St. Louis.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. I learned that from when I was in college and covering the UW Oshkosh volleyball team. It's like, Washington. It's like, but it's not that Washington.
It's really hard to say, Stout plays Washington University in St. Louis in Waukesha, that sort of stuff. So that's tomorrow at 5:30. Blue Gold wise, it's still a big weekend. We got wrestling that's going to be going on at points for the regionals. One more before nationals. This group that's had a fantastic season coming off their first WIAC championship, so that's going on. We got WIAC championships for both hockey, men's and women's, and Blue Gold's going up against the men's team, going up against Point rivals, women's going up against undefeated River Falls. That's another really, really good matchup over there too. So, and then plus softball and women's lacrosse begin this weekend.
Stuff's getting going.
Yeah, it's the season starting for some spring sports too. So you can, and as we mentioned a little bit earlier, you can check out the Rollin' with the Golds podcast. That's up now too, and check out all the upcoming events by visiting bluegolds.com. There you go, Brandon. Good stuff. That's the local sports breakdown brought to you by Amundsen's Appliance Center.